Cheers, guys. Epix 911, welcome to the Elitist Geek. VR news for Thursday, September 29th, 2016. Lots of VR news to talk about, guys. Let's jump right in. First, I just want to start with a massive thank you to all of you who left me recommendations for a PC racing wheel. I can't wait to do some, VR racing content. I've been holding off because I do not want to play these games with a gamepad. And if it seems like I'm going a little bit overboard with, asking for the recommendations, doing the short list, and then picking a finalist, I will admit that. Absolutely, it's overboard. But I've spent so much on virtual reality this year, I want to make sure, especially after having paid almost $300 for the HOTAS, that, this is going to be $500-600 I'm in for VR controllers alone, never mind all the other hardware, right? So again, what I'm saying is I do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. As soon as I have that, I will announce which one I get because I'm pretty stoked. That should be a lot of fun because I remember I used my old wheel so much in the past and it just adds so much to racing games. All right, so first news piece. And there's going to be a lot of Chinese content because China is doing an awesome job supporting virtual reality, which is fantastic. And I wish more countries would do that. I mean, you've literally got a president there, despite everything else that you could discuss involving China, you have a president that actually talks about virtual reality being important in the economy, et cetera, versus, one screenshot of a Western leader wearing an HMD and nothing more. So props for that. And it's going to mean that a lot of news is coming out of there, starting with this one. So DJI is the Chinese tech company, and they've created a drone called the Mavic. And I've talked about this with buddies, how cool it would be somebody's actually doing it. And what I'm getting at is they've got the drone on the market already, and I'm going to go over the specs. They're just fantastic. Now they're developing an HMD for it, and there's a cool commercial below. Check the commercial out. It's like 34 seconds, but showing, two buddies out in the woods somewhere with these drones and their HMDs. So HMD is still being worked on. The drone itself, $749 without the remote, $999 all in with the remote. And get these specs. So the company was founded in 2006. It's a 4K 360-degree camera. So you're flying the drone, you've got the HMD on, 40 miles per hour. So this thing is many times faster than some of the cheap low-end drones that are out there. A distance of up to 13 kilometers, 7 kilometers, and still being able to stream the content. So I don't know how they're pulling this off technically. I'd love to see the behind the scenes, but still very impressive. And damn, that would be fun. I could easily see myself spending an entire day. We've got an awesome ski resort area called Whistler here where I live in British Columbia. And some of those trails, fly a drone there, and some of the vistas, oh man, that would be just awesome. Literally, I could probably just nerd it up for a whole day. Yeah, so check that out. It's DJI, and their drone is called Mavic. The HMD portion, as of yet, not named. Another story out of China, this time HTC, makers of the Vive. They have set up an industry directly. Now, they have subsidiaries who I've reported on in the past, investing and forming VR bodies. This time it was HTC Direct, and they have set up what they call the Industry of Virtual Reality Alliance in China. It consists of about 170 enterprise-level businesses, and their kind of main focus is on improving and innovating virtual reality in China. Like, what other country is doing that? That is just so awesome. Granted, the US, of course, where a lot of the initial innovation came from, right? But it's nice to see they're not alone in this, that a country like China is also picking up some of that slack and pushing it, right? Pushing it forward. Next up, the last of the Chinese content for today, but this one is funny as hell. Because I've got a guess on what they're saying. Well, let me explain. So anyways, it's a Hong Kong commercial, and it's advertising the PlayStation VR unit. My guess is, and if there's anybody watching this that's either Cantonese or Mandarin or both speaker, let me know because I'm dying of curiosity. There's no subtitles available for this, but my guess is because it's Hong Kong, it's done in Cantonese, but then if it's shown nationally, maybe it's Mandarin. I don't know. Somebody could verify. But my take on the commercial, and even if you don't speak it, watch it and let me know your thoughts if we're on the same track. It seems to me like they're saying, look, in ordinary life, you're just you. But with the PlayStation VR, you can become the heroic version of you. To me, that's what it looks like they're saying. But it could be totally off and about something completely different. So anybody watch that knows, please let me know in the comments below. Next news story involving Gartner, a popular consulting agency in various industries, even IT, my industry they're involved in. Now, they're one of their vice presidents of research has come out and said that in terms of VR, Daydream is probably going to be out on top. So he feels that Sony is going to do excellent out of the gates. They're going to do what they need to do, but the long-term sure bet is Google Daydream. The only objection I have with that, and one of the comments at the bottom of that very article stated the same thing, same concern as me, is that it's not really a fair comparison. In other words, it's not apples to apples. You're comparing mobile Android content against console PS4. And he goes on to say in that it's like saying mobile gaming is going to kill console gaming, right? No, there's room for both. They're separate enough. So interesting that he says that, but they're pretty good with predictions. I mean, if I look at some of their IT stuff that they've said, a lot of it's come true. But look, a lot of stuff that anybody who thinks they can look into the future, if you speak in general terms, like enough general terms, it's going to make it seem like you're omniscient and you know exactly what happened. You called it every time, right? Just make it vague and general. There will be an eruption. Well, there's millions of eruptions, hundreds each day, right? Across the world. So either way, still interesting and a positive sign about growth. Next up, online shopping company called Shopify, and you've probably heard of them before. They offer, the whole online shopping experience, shopping cart, etc. They've come out with a 3D application called Thread Studio. So it's a 3D VR application called Thread Studio that will allow individuals to design their own t-shirt, even import t-shirt designs, and ultimately sell them online, all kind of wrapped up in one account, right? So definitely check that out if you're somebody who has a business. Maybe t-shirts is one of the things that you're looking at. I'd be curious to hear somebody's review or opinion on it. But ultimately, what it made me do is kind of think about the potential for the future. So in other words, I see potential with augmented reality, have the real you and then the clothing superimposed. But in the straight VR side, I can see a few years from now when we've got that 4K or hell, that 10K in the far, far future, that you could literally scan and import a lifelike 3D model of yourself and try on clothing and get exact measurements. Something that, tailors have done for hundreds of years. Watch the tailors union go up in arms when this gets launched, right? But it's going to be that amazing to be able to do stuff like that and get your 3D model and order your shoes online. All those things people are hesitant to do online, VR and AR have an opportunity to address those concerns and really expand online shopping and the business of doing business on the internet. So very cool. Company called Pixvana, and I've touched on these guys before. These are the guys whose sole mandate is to improve 360 degree, which they literally, quote unquote, considered mostly crap. And looks like they're on their way. So they've got an application that they've created. It's a publishing platform called Spin, in capitals, SPIN. They claim 100 megapixel quality within the user's field of view and the ability to streamline data delivery by up to 70%. So, and they claim, yeah, 10K video publishing. Now, of course, there's no viewers for that, but the fact that that kind of detail is available is pretty damn impressive. To top things off, they've got an approach that I really like, and CEO and co-founder Forrest K confirmed that they're going to be platform agnostic with this. In other words, it's going out to everybody, even though initially it's just selling Steam VR side of things. And their release date, the planned one, is October 8th, so literally within a couple of weeks. And again, that's Pixvana, which is a cloud-based VR video company just south of me in Seattle. Next up, one of these frickin' articles, guys, and definitely need a schlock for this one, because a doozy she is. It's one of these sensationalist headlines, and I've touched on 2 or 3 of these in the last 3 months. This one titled, and yes, it's in the UK rag known as The Mirror, that basically PlayStation VR can lead to eye disease and vomiting epidemic. I didn't make that up. That was their actual headline. So again, you take the average person who knows nothing about technology, they look at that, it becomes gospel, they talk about it if they care enough, and you get all this misinformation out there, which is just going to do damage. I just wish some of these journalists would take a little bit more time, right? And look, I screw up on stuff quite a bit as well, but this isn't my full-time job, right? It's a hobby. If your full-time job is writing, you should do a little more fact-checking and be careful. You wield a lot of power and influence with how you write a story, even just a headline. And when it's that sensationalist, you can do real damage to an industry. So yeah, those just freaking piss me off. So anyways, happy thoughts. Let's move along. All right. One of the viewers of the channel gave me a new news source. Now, I have about 6 core ones, and of course, Reddit and Twitter. There's lots of places to gather VR news. This is one that I believe I came across just once before, but it's very business-centric. But anyways, he reconnected me to the website, and it still looks very businessy, but something to report on today is that the European VR Congress 2016, that's the event, is going to take place in Warsaw, Poland, November 3rd and 4th. And again, rather than games, they're focusing on film, advertising, and the media aspect of virtual reality. But still very cool. Now, this next one, I was very careful about how I worded it, because there's certain things you just don't want to say on YouTube, right? Before you get flagged and stuff. So we're not going to use the word that's very close to prawn. We're going to say instead adult entertainment. I'm not making this up again, guys. It sounds like I've had a few too many beers and I'm coming up with these things, but I'm not. The application is called Yanks VR, YANKS, and if you're thinking it's for self-pleasuring, you're absolutely correct. That's exactly what it's named after. So, Virtual Reality Reporter has literally posted a tutorial on how to use this software. So you can just imagine being the poor schmuck who gets to, I don't know, say there's 10 steps. There are actual numbered steps, by the way, guys. You get to step 7 or 8, right? Things are starting to heat up a little bit. You run into a technical snag, right? Can you imagine being not just the guy who has to make the call, but the guy who has to take the call, Tier 1 help desk? That would be awkward as hell, a little strange. But yeah, there's a tutorial on that. And again, Yanks VR. Lastly, a very cool application. I've used the word cool so many times tonight because a lot of this stuff is literally just awesome. Gravity Sketch, you can add it to that batch of awesome. It's going to allow devs to create 3D models in virtual reality, and hopefully, they didn't have those details, import them into game engines, because one of the most time-consuming aspects of virtual reality development is the simple fact that there's not a lot of tools that exist. So having something like this to streamline the process, all around just going to be win-win. All right, guys, that's it for the news tonight. Off to other things. As always, cheers, and definitely catch you on the VR flip side.